My name is Randhawa. I'm CEO and Chairman of Strathmore Plus Uranium. I'm a co-founder of the company along with John DeJoya, Terrence, and Jamie Bannerman. We're completely focused on Wyoming, looking for uranium, and fortunately, we've got a former producer in our portfolio.
Deb, we thought we'd take advantage of the fact that you're in London. You're visiting, well, it's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
First of all. You're also visiting a few houses over here, telling the story.
Yep.
I've got to ask though, why have you gone back to the United States? I mean, that's where you started, but then you kind of trotted up to Canada for a bit, didn't you?
Well, I think it's because I don't think we had the right place. We were in New Mexico, and as much as good uranium there, I think it's been an uphill battle with some of the local groups. To the people, it's not a huge opportunity to work with a legend like John DeJoya. John, if you think about it, the big boom was the 1970s. Mm-hmm. Now we're 50 years later, so who's left?
Yeah.
It's not like a dark comment, but John was there. He's explored. He's found uranium. So it was an opportunity to work with a great team.
Right.
A hands-on guy like Terrence and other people like Jamie in the group. We've been fortunate to have a good team, good positive, and Wyoming. I mean, what a great place to be compared to where we were before. It's a question of the opportunity, the timing, but also the big picture for uranium is much better today than it was in 2000.
Right, I'm glad you got there, because otherwise you could have had a coffee morning, right? Get together. I'm interested in how do you make money? So you've got the fishing going on, fishing 3.0 going on, but now this vehicle, it's kind of small, under 10 million bucks. So remind people, what have you got there?
Yeah, well, we've been fortunate because John knew the area. I said to him, the only way David can beat Goliath is use our mind. And Rick Rule always says, your mind, your properties, other people's money. So I went to John last year and I said, John, there's got to be projects that people have forgotten you know about. He goes, Dale, I do. He's got a beautiful John Wayne voice. And so we just started picking up Beaver Rim because, they're simple. We mined it to there. We know there's more that we stopped. Yeah. But we know it's all there. Uranium doesn't stop. And he says, then we found another project called Night Owl. We'll talk a bit more. And this other one, because he said, we're going to buy properties which were around mines before, and we know there's uranium there. So we have three projects. As I mentioned, Beaver Rim, Agat, which is next to UEC's projects. But obviously the jewel of the project right now of the group is Night Owl. Yeah. It's a former producer. Whether there were so much uranium there or they were lazy, I don't know, but they took a backhoe and started digging holes out, and they're shipping it off to the Atomic Energy Commission. So we have that. We're just trying to figure out how much we have.
Right. Okay. I want to get back to the making money bit, because that's what investors are interested in. It's tough markets out there. Yeah. You've got choices to make coming up for tax loss season as well, right? So, and you're kind of small. What I need to know is if you're small and perfectly formed, in which case I should jump aboard. So in relation to some of the peers up in the Athabasca, high grade stuff, what's so special about yours?
Well, I think first of all, the path to production. Wyoming, it's very clear how you get there. So if I ask my team, when can we in production? They go, within 5 years. Agat, Kerr McGee's got so many holes, bang, we put that together, we figure what we've got to drill more. There's a very clear path. And also I think the whole sentiment in the US is entirely different. Yeah, Wyoming is, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are building the first reactor there. That tells you all you need to know about. Wyoming is pragmatic and realizes nuclear power is part of the solution. We want cleaner air but still be able to cook. So this is what the answer is. So I think Wyoming is a place to be for infrastructure purposes, everything else, but politically supportive because they know Buffett, Gates, the Democratic Party for the first time have said, oh, you know what? We need it. California, Newsom, they were going to turn down, shut reactors. Now they can't even find enough energy to the few electric cars they have. They've left the reactor in Diablo Canyon on. Same thing in Germany. So I think it's hit everybody that, oh my goodness, we need power, preferably clean power. And that's where green energy comes in. And that's why I think I want to be in the US. But also Night Owl's different. Night Owl's high grade. someone has said, and it's some of the highest grades you've seen are these breccia type pipes. So we think we're onto something.
What, high grade for Wyoming or?
Well, 0.24 to 0.5% is high grade in the U.S.
Yeah.
But the other difference is you saw, Biden administration supporting it with money. I think it would to inflation reduction, budgeting, and the path to production. I think because there's so much political support for nuclear power now, it's going to be easier to get funding, easier to move things along.
Right.
Because political favors for you.
Oh no, definitely. There's been we had to change the EU taxonomy. Nuclear is now part of the green solution. It's an incredible change, just in the last year.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Putin can probably take a bit of credit for that, if nothing else. Right? So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that whole thing is, Katusa wrote a book called Putinization, and it talked about then how he's been slowly, like monopoly, collecting everything. Yeah, he has 40% of the uranium.
Enrichment.
Enrichment, and then he also has all the gas that Europe needs. However you feel about Trump, he warned Merkel, 2018, don't do this. Don't put all your eggs in one basket with Russia. So I think all those things have taught people the number one thing you must be able to do as an economy is have cheap energy and reliable. And nuclear fits right into that. I've been talking about this for years, but it's unfortunately sometimes all of us in our personal lives in a country, a crisis wakes you up. And now they go, oh, we need energy and we need clean. And the U.S. sees that. And the best place to be in the U.S. is Wyoming.
Well, I think energy is the heart of a lot of the issues going on at the moment. Not just supply chain issues, but you're seeing industrial complexes shutting down in Germany because they can't afford the energy, which is insane. It's Germany.
It's just insane.
Okay, so we understand that the political narrative has changed. The support is there. What I'm interested in two things. One is what's so different about you guys? Why should I choose you guys over the next guy?
Sure.
We'll start with that one.
Well, valuation. We've only got 23 million shares out as of now. And the stock's, 35. So you're talking about 7 to 8 million Canadian. And yet you got a former producer and 2 other ISL assets. So that's number one. When people buy, they got to realize, what am I getting in this? And also, when the markets turn, supply and demand, it's much easier for that stock to go up. In a normal market, this, I think, would be 2 or 3 times the size of this. But it is what it is. So it's still a great opportunity for people to jump in. So you got three, you're getting a very good team. Ross McElroy's on the board. John's thinking of ideas. Terrence executing. So it's a good team that's got lots of experience. I don't know a war that between Ross and I, we've never won in the entire mining business, let alone that. So if you care about, that's third-party verification of our ability to look for uranium, find it, monetize it, buy companies, sell companies, bring bankers. You have to have that piece. But it means nothing unless you have people who know to execute the technical plan. And John and Terrence do. So you're getting a really good world-class management team, super small market cap, super small.
Okay, and we're seeing, because the narrative changing, that not just uranium funds or funders, we're seeing generalists kind of move in. Lots of conversations. I mean, you're here in London, right?
Yeah.
You're having those conversations. So people are interested again. So will the money be available for companies like yourself?
We've been offered a lot of money, and it's funny. We've had to kind of say, okay, we'll take $1.5 million. That's good. And because our market cap is so small. But the nice thing too about Wyoming, a drill hole costs $5,000 to $10,000. Athabasca is $150,000. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because you're not digging they're very shallow holes, and you can do, it's another story. But doing work there is very cheap.
Well, it is a story, Dave, because when you hear about the cost that the amount of people spending on drilling programs all around the world on different projects.
I know personally.
Yeah, well, true. So how come so cheap? I mean, I get shallow, but why?
They're very shallow. They're using different type RC type holes and stuff. You don't need core holes, right? Especially when we put in monitoring wells and stuff. You don't need. It's not a lot of money. So, but. Like I said, it's very inexpensive. Plus, right now, we've got one guy being paid. My staff have been awesome, and they've been willing to take equity. And one of the things we did recently here, the stock was 28 cents. We announced the finance at 33, and I said, why don't you guys convert? some of that and put some fresh money in. So we did it at a premium when we announced it. So the people are very committed. They know what we have. So it's inexpensive there, but again, the political will. One thing I've learned, if the winds aren't with you, it doesn't matter what you do. And right now, if you look at the big ones, we need energy. We have an energy crisis going all over the world. Where are we going to get it? People are desperate for energy. And the U.S. realizing now, shit, we can't count on Russia. We got to find out. That's why it's a place to be is USA in Wyoming, I believe, and with a great team.
I get the thesis, but okay, I'm not going to counter that. It's the last 4 years been building and building and building. It comes down to how does a small company move along the process, right? So you give them your differentiation between you and competitors, and maybe it's not instead of, it's a as well as scenario. But you as a company have got to move through the phases. How do you see the next 12 months rolling out for you? Because you just picked up some more land, right?
We just did, yeah. I think it'll be announced Monday, October 31st in the morning that we picked up more land. And what we did was we looked at it. And when I walked out on the property and I went, okay, John, you can't be blind to see what I'm seeing. Go, Dev, I see the same thing. So we've flown our land, looking at radiometrics, trying to pick up radioactivity. And we have found 3 or 4 other places are even better than where the Night Owl is. So we grabbed all that land. So we're quite excited to have more land. It went from a small area now to 1,500 area. We know that I can build a mine that much space. So we were picking up more land. The next step is to evaluate on Night Owl, pick up more land, evaluate, do some drilling. And the same idea is with a GAT. Put all the information together, 500 drill holes a lot, find out where the uranium is, how much you have, and then you do more drilling, and then you move towards the permitting process.
Right, okay, but I always like to know what I'm getting into bed with here, because, the companies set out with different intent and end games.
Exactly.
For you guys, so we've seen what you've done at Fish and Fish 3.0. What's the intent here? Like build towns on the ground and then flip it to someone? Because you need consolidation in this space.
We do. I think, we've talked before, and I've always said you hope for the best and plan for the worst. So everybody that says, I'm going to build it, they will buy it, is a bit naive. What I do know is that we know how to get there because John has built mines. Okay. So at least we got a guy that says, okay, because I asked him already, well, how do we, if we're going to heap leach Night Owl, what are we going to do? He's already gone through that. We're talking to the analysts at Red Cloud, Dave Talbot, and he goes, well, he says, it's windy there. We have to contain it. He's already got a plan for Night Owl doing a production. He has a plan. So we've got a guy who's not just found uranium, but has mined it. So he's a great leader that way. So our plan is to move towards production. Now, if we see an opportunity to buy somebody else, we will. If someone gives me the right deal, we will sell. End of the day, what every investor needs to know is your team has to have a lot of money in it. If your management team doesn't have their own money in it at the same price as them, run. I put in $500,000 at 30 cents a long time ago. Okay, now the next financing is 33. So the stock went all the way down to 19 cents. So we have our own money into it. And that means we're aligned. That when that stock goes down 2 cents, I feel the same pain they do. It goes up, I feel good. So we always align management's interests with our shareholders. So if the right deal comes along, great. There are some big giants in the neighborhood. Amir's in there with UEC, Mr. Getzel and team with Cameco, and obviously Paul and the gang at Encore. Even Laramide's not that far away. There are players there bigger than us, but to me, I think we have quality assets. Our goal is to do better than them. That's it. But we're very focused. We know we need to go. Like I said, you got a world-class team and a guy who is more than just found uranium. Like one of these, you need to do an interview with John sometime. He sounds like John Wayne and talks about the same pace, and he's a great guy. And he'll walk you. He can tell you exactly what we have to do. So we've laid out the next 6 months. Of what we have to do. We've raised enough money for that. The private placement closed about 1.4 on Friday. So we have enough money to move things forward. Again, we're only paying one salary. Everybody else, all professionals get paid, the accountants and lawyers, but we keep in the net low Okay, keep focused of picking up more land. And like I said, it comes down to brains. Junior exploration companies, in real estate, it might be location, but there's only one thing that matters in junior companies: management. Nothing else. I've seen good management find better projects. I've seen shitty management destroy good projects because they're not aligned with shareholders. If you're not thinking as a shareholder, you're a bad CEO, in my opinion. And we think like what's good for our shareholders. And that's why I think, everybody knows our story. If you look in your account today, if you bought one share of Strathmore Minerals back then, different company in 2007, you look in your account today, you've got Denison Mines, you've got energy, you've got, and you've also got fission uranium, fission 3.0. I mean, you can look in there and go, wow, energy fuel, all these free dividends. Who the heck does that? The only person who ever did that probably was Ross Beatty when he spun out all those copper deals. So we align ourselves with shareholders.
Good to see you there.
Thanks.